to be a junior company or even a mid-tier like I-80 Gold, and to be there as the anchor in a district that eventually leads to multiple gold mines, value creation over decades. That's why we're out there persisting and hunting for these hidden treasures, no matter the gold price and the share price in a short-term period of time.
We're continuing the saga here of treasure hunting here with Timberline Resources. I've got the chief treasure hunter here, Patrick Highsmith. So, Patrick, we spoke here. You laid out your reason for being in the game. You chose Timberline as in the Eureka project there in Nevada, and there's a lot of history that goes along with it. You've established why you want to be there. Let's kind of build on that, and let's get into Eureka first. Why? And let's get on to what you're on to there. So, Patrick Highsmith, please update us on your treasure hunting.
Yeah, Rob, we've talked mostly about, Timberline's project, right? We hit some gold, we hit some more gold. We think we're on the tail of a discovery, but I guess I just want to emphasize some things that are a little bigger picture and really transcend, today's gold price or tomorrow's news release a little bit. And in fact, it ties into some news as well. As we do our storytelling here, there'll be some news that we'll touch on, but just reminding folks a little bit, because we're going to show a lot of the Eureka camp before we finish telling this hunting hidden treasures story in Nevada. And Eureka is an amazing place. The ore was discovered there the first time in 1864, and actually it was prospectors from the Austin camp, which is a well to the west of Eureka, came over and made a discovery. Turns out that discovery, we believe, was actually on part of our claims that Timberline now holds. So there's great history there, but they didn't find gold, Rob. They found silver. And these were very special silver ores because they had been at surface and oxidized. And so they were actually readily treatable and enriched by this process. And Eureka sprang up several smelters. I've heard his numbers as high as 7, but certainly 5 smelters operating in the town of Eureka. And if you drive through that valley, and as we'll show, we tell this story, that's a small town. And that was certainly a busy place with smelters, and probably a messy place, cranking out those old primitive smelting technologies back in the 1800s. But between the 1870s and 1890s, it was maybe the second largest silver camp in America. And again, geologically, what does that tell us? Well, those ores were very different than what we are exploring today, or what our neighbors up north of us, I-80 Gold, are exploring for today. We're really looking primarily at the gold ores, most of which are what we call Carlin type gold deposits. But these silver, lead, zinc deposits, they were called carbonate replacement deposits. And they date from over 100 million years ago. They were formed during the Cretaceous period here. And they were significant for the old timers, and they're significant again today, but maybe for a different reason. In this business, Rob, we operate with analogies, and we're going to tell lots of stories around Nevada as we do this work for hunting hidden treasures. And when you get into the Carlin trend or the Getchell trend, where we have multiple mines operating and producing hundreds of thousands of ounces of gold from one of these large mines, you're often working in a place where there's been more than one type of mineralization. In the Carlin trend, we know there's older silver, lead, zinc mineralization, and then later Carlin type mineralization. And here in Eureka, same thing. We have this older type of mineralization, which actually got the prospectors in there 150 years ago. But it also prepares the rock. The margins of those deposits, the granites that form part of the core of those deposits, those are nice sort of barriers for the fluids. They can dam up the ore forming fluids, and we can find high grade gold right on the flanks of maybe just what looks like a kind of boring looking granite, for instance, or the silver, lead, zinc mineralization can have gold overlapping with it as well. So we are trying to find a new trend, Rob, and I think that's the key point I'm talking about here. What are the characteristics that shift something like the Eureka project from a great looking project, that Timberline, they've got a chance to find a gold mine down there. That's pretty exciting in its own right. But no, we're not looking for one mine. These things they're beads on a string, Rob. A trend is multiple gold mines, And when a company, junior company like us, or major company like Newmont and Barrick, when they get into a district in the first place, they need to show the discovery justifies development. They need to show the economics. We'll need to eventually produce a feasibility study and do the work to justify the banking required to build these big projects. One gold mine can be over $1 billion these days. And so to do that, sure, you got to do that work. But what you know is, and the reason you persist, and the reason you don't look at the gold price maybe every day, you certainly don't look at your share price every day or every week sometimes, is because when you make that initial discovery, you're going to parlay that. There's going to be more than one mine. There'll be an open pit mine. Then there'll be an underground mine. There'll be multiple underground mines, multiple open pit mines. And this will unfold over years and years, Rob. We did a study when I worked at Newmont that suggested that the initial reserves that you went there to start mining will be multiplied many times over if you stick it out in that district. Okay, Newmont did this on the Carlin Trend. Newmont did this at Yanacocha in Peru. These are some of the great gold mines of the world. And to be a junior company or even a mid-tier like I-80 Gold, and to be there as the anchor in a district that eventually leads to multiple gold mines, value creation over decades, that's why we're out there persisting and hunting for these hidden treasures, no matter the gold price and the share price in a short-term period of time. I hope that makes sense and kind of gives some clues why we're persisting and doing all this work. And every day's news release is just the tip of the iceberg.
In a competitive world of shareholders, you're competing for their dollars, but yet you're in a limited sector. You guys seem to all work together well and all be on the same team. So how do you hunt these hidden treasures together with your neighbors? I imagine there has to be some sort of synergies with the community involvements and all that. And at the end of the day, it's just better for the business to all be friendly, correct?
There are a lot of companies playing in this sandbox of Nevada, one of the great gold producing regions of the world. And even in the Eureka camp, where we hold a big block of claims there, I think we're the biggest claim owner in the Eureka district. Timberline that is. But there are other players, Rob. We have everything from small scale private prospectors or family run businesses that are trying to reopen a historic mine, right through a company like I-80 Gold with $700 or $800 million market caps, also in the camp doing their own thing. So there is this community where all boats get lifted by success. So a drill hole from Eureka, a drill hole from our neighbor Golden Lake exploration to the north of us, or several drill holes announced by I-80 Gold, they bring awareness to the story, and they start to show that this district it's breaking out. It's been known that it was an important mining district, but now the discoveries, maybe they're getting bigger, they're getting higher grade, and there is a geologic sharing that goes on. There can be sharing of, for instance, Rob, sometimes two companies or more will combine to pay for a geophysical survey, where we would survey the whole of the camp with an airborne, say a drone hosted sort of drone flying magnetic survey over the whole of the district. And then that data can be shared and geologists can collaborate on it, because none of that geophysics is as fancy and high tech as it is. None of it shows us gold deposits. It shows us fabric in the rock. It shows us the setting that the magnetic properties are telling us about, which may lead to favorable environments in which the gold was deposited. But we can't see the gold directly. And many times we're having to drill deep for the gold. And this sort of collaboration or big picture interpretation shared across even companies, different companies, is the way the work ends up getting done. And the paradigm shift often comes from one company's really hitting the big home run, and then the follow-on work leads to our goal, really, which is a district here, as I said, not just one mine. So there is a lot of work across the community. We just had a great technical venue in Nevada where we gathered the Geological Society of Nevada together. And guess what? We had our rocks there on the table. You saw that. You were at the show. And guess what? Geologists come up. We're comparing notes. We're making analogies to some of the big discoveries that Nevada Gold Mines has made up at Gold Rush and 4 Mile. These are multi-million ounce discoveries happening in the Newmont Barrick joint venture up there. And we're all learning from that. So I think the learning is one of the things I see, Rob, a little different about this business is we're all exploring the unknown. We're all drilling holes, thousands of feet into the subsurface. And that's a new frontier down there. And the sharing and the learning and the storytelling and the analogies that comes from the mixing of the geologists, all the different geologists and management getting together in these sometimes social settings, sometimes in the field, sometimes in a conference setting, really trying to keep us all focused on the purpose of finding these treasures. The market's telling us to go look for them. And on any given day, the price might be up or down, but we know that a new district scale discovery in Eureka, multiple mines being developed, would have such an impact on the stakeholders. That's what drives us. The community, the jobs that are needed out in rural parts of these states, the tax dollars that fund the education and the infrastructure development in the Western U.S. like that. It all works together, the communities, the geologists, and we're all rowing in the same direction. And that's one of the things I find most interesting about the geological community in the gold hunting business.
Yeah. And so, okay, so we've established here, you're in a pretty dang good area. We've established you got some good neighbors that work together. Everyone's friendly. You got some good data here. But let's get back into the competitive part of this here. You've got your own little area here you're working on. You're trying to be that guy to find that hidden treasure here. So let's get into how it's going right now here. I know you've had some exciting news come out here. You're proving a few things up here. So water well zones got you excited. Get into current day here and tell us how the treasure hunting is going today.
It's still a business. It's still competitive in this landscape, Rob. And we're out there fiercely competing for investment dollars. For instance, if someone wanted to invest in gold, where can you put your dollars? Well, obviously, you can buy some gold and you can buy some silver too, and be exposed to hard currency like that. But equities, junior mining stocks are a big attractor of investment dollars. However, there are some version of maybe 1,500 companies, publicly traded companies, exploring for gold around the world on the various stock exchanges. And these companies compete. And again, if you're investing in gold, do you want to invest in production like a major company that's making, selling gold out the door every day? Price goes up and down, their fortunes go up and down. In the case of a discovery-oriented exploration junior, really the upside in that is where gold might go, what these guys might find. And Timberline's a great example of that. We're a small company, market cap maybe around $30 million or something like that. Well financed at the moment, but subject to the market when we go out and raise money, for instance, as we've recently done. We have a flagship project at Eureka. We announced results really through the first 2 quarters of this year. We've announced some excellent drill holes that have moved Timberline along the path to establishing itself as a company with an emerging and exciting discovery that has the potential to be economic. Results have been great lately. We took a venerable project at Eureka. We added land, what we call consolidating the district, building up that land position so that we're driving a really big land position, which has the potential for multiple, not just single, but multiple discoveries on that property. Recent results have elevated a target called the water well zone, which is right next to an existing resource we had. So we already knew we had some gold, about 500,000 ounces in the measured and indicated category of resources. Those are not proven to be economic. That's more of a geological category of discovery. Fairly low grade, averaged about 0.62 grams of gold per ton, or that's 0.018 ounces of gold per ton. That's a low grade resource, but it's at surface and it has some value, and Timberline has traded based on that. But now with the discovery of the water well zone, the grades are much higher. So now we're drilling higher grade gold right next to a known resource, still comparatively shallow. This mineralization could be mined in the future if these results continue. So kind of lighting a fire under the news flow, elevating this target to what appears to be an emerging discovery. And what's more, we're adding drill holes at another prospect just a kilometer away across the valley called Oswego, where we recently announced potentially economic intercepts of gold near surface, oxide mineralization at surface in some cases. And again, that's a wide open exploration target. We got another project target called the Windfall Trend. So we're bringing multiple opportunities to bear, and we've gone out and financed in the market with quality investors. And now we unroll the series of disclosures that sort of tells the story of what we're finding. And that's really the cycle we're in now. And there's some suspense there. We're going to start drilling here in June of this year. We'll be drilling in the summer of 2022. And while we're drilling, of course, we'll be taking samples to the lab and getting assays. So there's this sort of suspense building. And then we'll be announcing, have we hit more of that gold? And that does put you in a race, Rob. It really does put you in a race with your neighbors. You're kind of in a race with the big boys too, because they're watching you. And if your results are good enough, maybe there's a transaction there. Maybe they want to partner with you or invest with you in that asset. But they're looking at the whole playing field. You know, I used to do that for Newmont mining. I used to look all over the world for the best junior mining companies for us to invest in or partner with. So it's a very competitive landscape, which kind of belies this collegiality that we have, this sort of sharing of technical information that we have. You sort of wouldn't know it, that would be the trend in a business that is so competitive. But I think, Rob, that the reason that is it's just a really tough business. Finding enough gold to make economic discoveries, to raise the billions of dollars of capital ultimately needed to build these mines, to produce this gold in an environmentally responsible fashion. It's one of the hardest things you can do in business. And that's what drew me to it. And that's why we're all going to keep turning over rocks for the foreseeable futures to hunt these hidden treasures in Nevada and elsewhere around the world where our prospects are best.
Yeah, Patrick. So building on that, I guess what you're trying to do here, you're trying to find these hidden treasures. But you mentioned something very important there about attracting the attention of a big boy here. So I think it's important for new fans or investors watching this to understand how those transactions look and what that does if they take a chance on hunting treasure with you via buying your symbol. There's money to be made in a transaction like that. So not just rooting for you to find it there, but there is some actual gold in here for investors. Why don't you kind of explain that process to investors?
Well, if we're going to talk hidden treasures, we're going to have to talk probably junior mining company business models. And quite frankly, it's a fascinating subject. I hope that as we make this journey to create this hunting hidden treasures empire of content for folks, that we get to discuss this a lot more. Timberline owns its claims, 100%. So basically, we've gone out and either staked these claims or acquired these claims, and we've raised money and gone out and explored these projects. And there's more than just Eureka, but let's talk about our Eureka project primarily. So the value proposition here is that we might make a discovery. And there's a famous chart published in Pierre Lasson's book, The Gold Book, the life cycle of a mining share. And everyone has stolen Pierre's work there to show that chart. But what it basically shows is most of the value creation, that hockey stick that we all like to talk about, is when a discovery is made, really before it's developed into a mine and starts making actual revenue. So you're still a non-revenue generating company, but you went from a low valuation to a high valuation because you've made a discovery that the market believes has the potential to be economic. But there are many ways that the shareholder and the company can make money here. One of them is, of course, to stick with it, keep raising money, discover, drill out, publish resources, eventually a feasibility study, reserves, and then that's a viable project which can be banked, i.e. financed, and a mine can be built. Not bad. That's the way we did it in the old days. We went and got money, we raised the money, we built the mine, and then we had the profit of producing gold, hopefully at lower than the price at which we sell it. Pretty straightforward. However, modern economics, modern mining and exploration, modern resource development has opened up the playing field quite a bit. We can also make money by selling the asset. And maybe some groups are better at exploring and others are better at building mines. I put myself in that category, by the way. I'm a treasure hunter, I'm an explorer. And so maybe the best thing to do is do what you do best. And then at some point, its value becomes a compelling case for obviously investors to lift the price, but ultimately an acquirer or a partner. But that's not black and white either. Maybe it's you sell a portion of the project initially, maybe you joint ventured in a true partnership, and the two companies co-develop it, or multiple companies develop it. So those are the ways that a discovery can make money for a company and for its shareholders. But there's a whole nother business model that I'm sure we'll talk about at some point as we continue to talk hidden treasures, and that's the prospect generator model. The prospect generator model, they go out as a junior company and they joint venture all their projects at an early stage. They've come up with great geological ideas with varying degrees of data and work behind them. And then they go and find a partner for each. What's the winning strategy there? Well, as Rick Rule and many other famous purveyors of this model have said, it's lowering your risk because each of your projects is having money spent on it by someone else. The downside, the shareholders of your company don't own 100% of the discovery. You've already joint ventured it, pre-discovery. So many permutations of this business and many geologists working across these different business models there. But I hope I illustrated a little bit about what drives a company like Timberline. We own 100% and we're willing to put our capital at risk, our shareholders' capital at risk to go make a discovery. But we're hunting in one of the best jurisdictions in the world, Nevada, and we believe our prospects for success here are better than almost anywhere else in the world.
Yeah, and your latest news here looks like you might just be onto something. So, okay, well, again, we appreciate you taking the time. Again, that's the chief treasure hunter over there at Timberline Resources, Patrick Highsmith. TLRS is how you find him on the American Exchange up there, TLRS.OTCQB, I guess, and then TBR.V in the Toronto Venture Exchange. Patrick, again, thanks for the education. Continued success at treasure hunt, and we'll look forward to checking back in there as you continue to develop this resource.
I'll be here, Rob. Always good to tell a story.